like who's this for, right? It's for like bride and groom who is they're planning their wedding. Maybe they just got engaged and they're looking to plan their wedding, and you can start earlier than you think. And it's also for wedding planners. Is because one thing that you see a lot is I want to touch on, because we have two things I kind of want to touch on. One is how to save money, because that's a big one, and of course we're going to dive deep into videography because we got Kekai here from
High Ticket
Film. And so you got to check out his scene, and we're excited to have him. He's very unique because I found out just recently that you grew up with weddings.
Yeah.
Your
My dad.
Your dad was an officiant. So this is really important. This is a point that I want to really make with videography, because there's a whole bunch of people saying, you probably get the obstacles of videography. We'll get into that. People like, hey man, everyone's got a video camera on their phone, right? How many times you heard that? I've heard that a bunch, and it's totally bogus, and we'll get into that. And I wanted to mention, like, also saving money, because there's a lot of people talk about the how to save money. You save money doing this, but what I want to get into is like the what. Like, what should you save money on, and what you shouldn't, And because I own a wedding venue, and I get to see. I'm kind of like, a lot of ways I'm the hub. I see all the vendors, they're coming through me. The brides and grooms are talking about logistics. I have to deal with a lot of it. And I see where they're spending their money, and I see big mistakes a lot of times where people are spending their money in ways that, they're not, it's not really that important, and they're stressing about things. But one thing I think is really important for all weddings is videography. And I get this bounce back, because I always ask brides and grooms, are you getting a videographer? Oh, well, we figured our friends, they're gonna shoot, they're holding it up in their hands. And this is how it plays out that I've seen. Yeah, it's true. Here comes the bride down the aisle. Everyone busts out their phones, right? Then people sit down, they start listening to the officiant. You won't see another phone again, because it's respectful. They don't want to. The officiant's talking. They're not going to want to stick up their phone. Right. It's such an amazing moment, And you don't want to put that on your guests. They're not vendors, right? It's like they're guests. You want them to immerse in that experice.
Yeah,
okay, so that's my.
Obligated
It's. I mean, we'll get into how hard it is to do what you do, but so that's kind of my one point. And my other point is so important with videographers is that they should be not just someone who's got an expertise in videos, because I hear this too. My buddy, he has a good camera, right? And this is not what a videographer, like yourself, an artist, a craftsman who will not just bring out the best video possible, will bring out the best wedding. And I have seen this over and over again. How videographers, they talk to the bride and groom beforehand. It's like their ability to, and photographers to some degree, but videographers even more, because you guys are interested in the story. And a wedding is so much more than, you get caught up in the details with a wedding, right? You've seen this. I've seen this so many times with brides and grooms where they're nervous the couple days beforehand because Uncle Larry said something bad to Aunt Patty, and they're not, like they get into there's so many dramas, and this vendor's not going to do this, and we're not sure about that. But videographers, I've seen your work, how you bring it back to what it really is, and that's this amazing love story. And that's what I want to talk to you specifically, how you do that.
I have a lot of Zoom consultations with them.
So you talk to people beforehand.
That's my thing. I love to get to know exactly who they are, and especially if they hire me, then I want to get to know them for their love story. I obviously have, my own style, but I really want to capture their love story. You gotta kind of compact 8 hours or the whole build up their entire relationship into a few minutes. And for even those who don't get to make it to the wedding, they get to see a little highlight of what that day looked like for them and how it made them feel. And the whole thing I feel about wedding videos and wedding videography in general is just that you just gotta capture. It's all about the story. I love to talk with them. I love to get to know them, be on a friend type of level with them and then I'll just ask them questions. I even have a questionnaire that they can fill out prior to actually booking me, and I'll send that to their email. And what I like to do, I just want to get to know them for them personally, not so much. I want to get to know their story, where they met, how they fell in love. I want to get to know those little details, so not only do they know that I know, they know that I'm going to go in there with a purpose to try and capture them getting ready, all the effort that it takes to plan a wedding in whatever venue that you're going to be getting married at. And I feel like my job as a budding professional is just to not just capture those moments, but to kind of alleviate the stress, knowing that having them know that that I'm gonna capture their story in its entirety, especially the culmination of events leading up to their big day. It's their day. You gotta make sure that you do a good job. So where I feel like I sometimes need help, I've done weddings by myself, but it's always good to have a partner with you. Those who are either have just as much or if not more experience are the extreme assets to. It's not just a business. It's like your reputation as a videographer is dependent on so many things, especially the way that you treat people, treat your clients, the way that you deliver the videos, to the way that you start to network with all these vendors and videographers, and just the way that you start to present yourself as that professional if they start to like your content that you're posting on your social media or your website.
The last one you shot, I was checking out, and I mean, you dropped the trailer, and I was so shocked by I've never seen a wedding video like this, and it was so unique, and it was so because it was a very unique wedding. It was like fantasy, Disney,
Disney,
Star Wars, and it could have easily been corny, but it was anything but that. You made it like a fairy tale slash
the crazier
fun.
the better.
Yeah, it was, and then the trailer, I thought it was the whole thing just because the quality of it. I was like, this is great, and you're like, this is just the trailer. I'm like,
The crazier the better. I feel like the more thematic that a wedding can be is the more outgoing and creative artist can be, because you're going to take all those different elements and you're going to mash them together, and it's going to look as if kind of like that, like a real fantasy.
Yeah, it had that quality of feature film. I mean, that's what I felt. It didn't feel like a wedding video. It felt like a feature film.
I love that word gets thrown around a lot, cinematic.
Yeah.
But if you're looking at like how how certain videos are put together and why they look so appealing, it's like you're compacting so many different emotions into one 5 to 10 to 15-minute piece, and what you got to do is you got to capture the imagination of those of your audience, your viewers. And that's the way I like to edit. Hopefully it does its job. But when it comes down to trying to get into that cinematic stage, that cinematic platform, you really gotta be on your game. You gotta know what each shot says, and you gotta be kind of fluent or growing in that language of, what does this shot say, and how do I put it in a sequence that makes sense so that people stay engaged the entire time. And that's why you gotta focus on not just their story, but how to put those visuals together so that the story and the visuals of the story actually, coalesce.
It's so hard. I want to tell people how hard this is because, first of all, he's making basically like a feature film kind of quality cinematic, but these are not actors by any stretch of the imagination. They don't want to be actors. This is their real life story.
Yeah.
This is not even a documentary where you're just shooting kind of stuff that's happening, going around, and people don't really know about it. To me, this is the hardest form of filmmaking. And because of these two things, where you have something that's so important to someone, you're never going to get that first kiss that you may kiss the bride again. You'll never get it again. It'll never go back. You can never say, I didn't get it. I wasn't rolling. Can we take it one more time? Never going to happen. So the pressure, people come up to me a lot, and I will mention, I talk to a lot of people about prices, and people say, how come this videographer is shooting this, he shoots, anniversary videos. Now he's doing weddings, and it's like 3 times the price. Why are people trying to rake brides and grooms? And it has nothing to do with that. It has to do with the pressure and basically the pressure and the stakes, the stakes that are at hand here. And people don't understand that. Even maybe I don't know why they don't understand. This is like, if you don't understand this, we know as this is going to be the most important moment for most of people's life. The amount of money and time, and you have thousands of dollars, not just the bride and groom, but people flying in, hundreds of people flying in. That could be $100,000 right there. Just the people spending on flying in. If you come, we're in Hawaii, so we got a lot of people coming flying in, hundreds of people sometimes. So the stakes couldn't be higher, right?
It's a huge financial decision, and at the same time, they're gonna look back on whomever they chose to capture their wedding. They're gonna look back on that wedding, and if they're feeling sentimental and nostalgic, they're gonna look back on top of that wedding and feel good that they hired somebody to capture their day. My whole thing for weddings is like when you start to do that, when you start to feel like it's about the story and how you they're gonna hire you for a reason. They hire you whether they like your style, whether they like how you treated them, how you related to them, whether you're shooting with the team, you got multiple cameras. The time and effort it takes to shoot these types of events is it's a growing pain. There's lots of growing pains. There's lots of times that you mess up, and there's lots of things behind the scenes. Most people that don't know about videography in general just don't see the time and effort you took to educate yourself, how many things you did for free, how much money you invested into your equipment, knowing that it could break down. And just those small little things do play a lot, especially a videographer's experience too. I feel like a wedding videographer's experience, if the work just speaks for itself, then they'll hire you based on that, and then just based on how relatable you are as a person, as a professional. If you're conveying yourself as such, you should be good to go. And if you're delivering the videos within this promised time frame, that's a plus too. So many different things that go into the video world that I feel like just aren't seen by the general public. And if you are a videographer, then it's an if you know kind of thing. So the videography community here too in Hawaii is just so small and tight knit, kind of like if you know who that person is, if you know, there's only a few people that I know for sure that are just not only just trustworthy, but they're just the best. And those are the people that I look up to and I like to work with and take advice from. And their advice too, especially when they figure out who you are and they see your work and they see that you're growing too, they always want to see you be successful, not just for yourself, but your next edit or your next event or your next whatever should be just better than the last. That's how I feel. That's how I take on a lot of weddings, and I want to make sure that everything that I do is just better than the last one. And that's how I like to approach every wedding.
And another thing that you may not be thinking out there if you're listening to this, audio.
Important.
Very, very important. You're capturing these moments, these speeches at the altar, and people always write speeches, and it always cracks me up when I see, because I've seen many weddings now where they don't realize how overwhelmed they're going to be even before the ceremony. Because I know what's going to happen. They're kind of chill. They're like, yeah, we're going to have a ceremony. I'm like, okay.
No, but now it's time to put on. Now it's time to step in front of maybe what could be possibly hundreds of people, or just people who you know or known you when you're growing up and have never seen you speak on a microphone in public before. Just like how I am doing now.
Right.
I've never done this.
You never
before.
spoke a microphone.
So, but I'm trying. So don't make fun of me.
And so when people they don't know the amount of emotions that are going to come out, and it's always incredible. And photos don't do it. Sorry, photographers. You do an amazing job. We love you. You deserve everything you get, but nothing captures it like video and audio. You're getting the audio. You're getting what they're saying.
Mm-hmm. That's what it is. It's an audio-visual stimulus. It's a lot like you're trying to relate to their whole relationship within a matter of minutes. You see a lot of love stories in big cinema platforms that you see in Hollywood. Then you'll know that, these people didn't fall in love and get married and then turn old in 2 hours. So it's just depending on your storytelling style, how well are you at telling stories. And videography in itself is just it's an intricacy. So when I like to go about an edit, I just like to know how to tell a compelling story. There's always background information. There's like, who's this person? How do you get to relate to him? What is he about? Or what is this other person about? What is the bride about? What's her? Where is she from? What does she like to do? Is that person relatable? And then once you relate to them on a more personal level, if you're a viewer, if you're viewing the video, you gotta. Every good story has a good journey to it too, and the culmination for a wedding video is gonna be, walking down the aisle, the first kiss, just all those pent up emotions that led up to that one big moment. And that's how love stories as portrayed on video really get to, you start to believe in true love. That stuff does exist. That's why I do it. I mean, I get hired and we get you get money for it. But I love stories because I mean, I've been through a lot of crazy relationships in my life, and I always believe that there's somebody out there for somebody.
Yeah, and it's an amazing moment. I mean, it's a wonderful thing to celebrate. It's a wonderful thing to glorify this uniting of two people who are going to make this commitment, ideally in front of God. And
true.
And it's God's institution. No one else, he created it. And so that's a wonderful thing. And it's also a uniting of two families. And that's what people sometimes before I was a wedding venue owner, and someone would told me they're going to spend all this money on a wedding, I went, what a waste. That's what would have been my opinion before. But now I absolutely understand why people drop all this money, because it's the beginning of something. It's a celebration of something, and you're kicking off. You're just basically letting it's almost like you're letting yourself know, and you're letting your family know, let everyone, this is important. Because what we spend our money on, that's what we're saying to the world is important. Some guy's got a fancy car, some got a beautiful watch. But if you're investing into your wedding, you're setting off this idea that this is important. And I've had someone this is their second or third wife, right? Okay. It wasn't that big a deal, the wedding this time. Okay. We were kind of we were joking the other day about we hope we don't have any repeat customers, right? We hope they don't come back and here he is again with his next bride, and we haven't had that. True. But that's why it's so wonderful to invest into this and have this. I take this seriously. We're investing this. We want people to come out, and that's also why I think it's really important for people to invest in video. You're capturing this, and my kids. For example, I'm married. I got 2 kids. They've looked at my wedding photos 10 minutes total. Our wedding video 10 hours.
Just watching it.
And it was not a videographer professional. It was like a couple friends setting up. Actually, I set up some of the cameras, just hit record and edit it together. But they just kept watching it over and over again. Her friends would watch it, and so that's what I want to instill in people too. But the importance of this video is, this is going to be something that you're going to be passing on. You're going to be looking at with your grandkids, your photos too.
100%.
And then all those flowers too. I just want to mention the flowers, everything you put into the effort. It's all going to be documented. It's all going to be, and that's what I love about the production side of weddings. That's what I love, trying to put as much into making my venue as beautiful as possible. And I'm looking at cinematics. I'm looking at angles for cameras. I know where the cameras are going to be. I want to make sure my things don't cover up the mountains. I want to make sure that these flowers are coming out, because the whole thing is just a celebration of visuals. And the video side is just that cherry on top where it's capturing it all.
Right. No, that's one of the first things I noticed when I came here too. Was that the mountains are it just creates the most beautiful backdrop. And so I took a couple of videos on my phone to show my dad, who lives back on Big Island. I was like, bro, this is where we're shooting all these. Look at the mountains in the background. Perfect sunset on the, coming over the other side. And it's like these colors that come out. And you already know that if you got a good camera, you can capture those colors. But the colors that were coming out that day when the sun starts to set over there, it's just beautiful. It's gorgeous over here in Waianae. So they're investing in memories. You're capturing memories. I had the first time I ever saw my father's and my mother's wedding video, I didn't know my mom. My mom passed away when I was 5 years old.
Wow.
So my father actually found the VHS and had it digitized at Walmart. And so when I finally got to watch that video, I mean, the first thing I thought was like, man, this thing sucks, because it's such horrible quality. But then that was, me owning a camera capable of 4K and being way too critical. And then I saw my mom in her wedding dress. I couldn't really hear anything because the in-camera audio is terrible too. But to me, regardless of all of that, it was one of the most beautiful videos I ever seen in my life, because I got to see somebody I just didn't really know, but I knew, and I have images and glimpses of her when I was young, and then I saw her in her wedding dress. Like, that's the power on a really, really extreme level, going to, like, if someone like who has a case similar to mine, just seeing that person that's not there anymore on their wedding day is insanely special. You never know if that could happen to anybody, and that's another good reason to capture those memories. Right. Some people that's something that especially if I'm consulting with a client or a future client, like I ask them why. Like, why do you want one? What do you really want captured besides just the basics? Bride and groom prep, ceremony, reception, speeches, all these different events that happen throughout the day, according to the planner, what they want. And that's why I love getting to know them personally. Like, what's really gonna help give off that love story when somebody else watches it and it's like, wow, that I know that person. That's exactly how they are, regardless of my style of editing. That's how they really are. That's what they really mean. And the people that love them and support them, that are in the audience, and whether it's the best man or the maid of honor, and they've known them maybe since they were kids, right? So this is more than just being a bridesmaid or a groomsman. It's like your brothers and your sisters now. So now when it gets to those moments and those special times, there's a reason why those people are there too. They could be in the video. I'll record their whole speech. I'll deliver that whole thing to them too, because it's more than just a highlight video, something that looks really good on top of social media.
Right.
It's way more than that. And that's why you gotta be so good. You're constantly growing in the art, because there's so many different things that happen throughout the day that never happen again. You might miss this speech, or you might miss that, or you might miss that kiss. Hopefully you never do. Hopefully you never miss the ring exchange or the kiss or what they say to each other. But it's just those small little details.
That's it. The small details that not just someone with a good camera is going to capture. It's not someone with. It's not that your Uncle Steve, who's got a great camera, can do justice to. Mm-hmm. It's not about the equipment at that point. The equipment, of course, is professional, and you got best stuff, and you make sure this, and you check that, and everything that goes into that, which is a whole university course in itself. But then is the university of understanding what a wedding is and the essence of, and what's important to this couple, what's important to this family, what's the dynamic of going on, and making sure you're in the right position at the right time when the bride meets her father-in-law for the second time, or being there, understanding that there's a story here, there's something that could happen with this and this, and being ready for it. True. And it's that research that way before you even start turning your camera on, is understanding what is actually happening in this family. Mm-hmm. And being able to capture that and bring it out and facilitate it. We also facilitate these moments too, where we're, sometimes, I don't want to do a first sighting, I don't want to do this. Well, maybe you should consider it, right? Maybe sure. we're like almost said we're not just we're coaching this in a sense, we're coaching mm-hmm. these moments, because we know how important they are. We've seen, I mean, yourself, you've grown up with weddings and you've shot now many, so you've seen, okay, this, my expertise, I recommend, this is a wonderful moment. You'd be surprised. Really? Mm-hmm. That's what you need. That's what you need, someone, not just a video expert, but a wedding expert and a love story expert.
I feel like the thing about weddings is that it's not supposed to be high stress for the groom and the bride, and yet it is. So your job as a professional is to make sure that you do exactly what you do to the highest, level that you can. And when it comes to them, just perform the way you're supposed to perform. You got a camera, perfect. You got more than one camera, better. You got more than one shooter, even better. That your second shooter is always going to see something that maybe you miss because you're the primary shooter and you're focusing on what needs to be shot. But if he or she notices something that you don't, and it's something really sentimental or special to that couple, they'll either point it out, or they don't even have to ask. They'll just go do it. When I was watching my father growing up officiate a lot of these weddings, he's a kahu at Kamehameha School's Kekai, and he used to be a kahu at Moku Aikawa Church. And the way that his style, I don't even know you can call it a style. It's just he's so in tune with what Jesus wants him to do. Like being a kahu is not the same as being an officiant or a pastor. Being a kahu is, you know, you're actually like a shepherd to these people. You're making sure that and you're not even forcing anything on them, anything kind of their beliefs or nothing. It's just like how we discussed earlier, is definitely a covenant that you're making with God, and it's a sacred one too. And he's the type to just bless it, be there to make sure that, you know, that this wedding is definitely, it's a blessing. It's the start of a new journey, right? You start of a new journey with your life, with your loved one, your spouse, and the families that you're uniting together too that day. You know, they're all family too. Those are those are small things. A wedding is way more than just
Cake.
yeah, way more than that. And I feel like the cakes could be better. The cakes could be better. Leue Baker, if you're listening to this,
She's the cake queen.
I'll go to Leue. I feel like it's more than just that. It's a celebration of a new journey. These two people are coming together with the promise under God to, you know, they're gonna love one another, and they're gonna live life on having each other's back and on walking alongside each other. And I'm not a kahu, but the way that I see my father do all these weddings is just that he leaves everybody just pretty speechless. You know, it's way more, it's deeper than
The weight of it.
It's heavy.
Yeah.
There's so much emotional and spiritual weight attached to a wedding if you're really into that kind of thing, that you see what effect it has on even the people who just attended the wedding. Wow, this wedding is so beautiful. I can't believe, like, I wish I captured it.
I got you.
We got it. You have to be like, I feel like being a professional videographer in this space, you're stepping on some really sensitive ground. You're gonna get paid to do a job for one of the biggest days in their life, especially if the marriage is a long lasting, very loving one. You know, just lots of Christmases and lots of vacations with families as somewhere else. You know, these are the kind of love stories that at the start, like, oh, what was that one thing that you said to me at our wedding? Like, I don't know. Maybe the videographer can capture it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe I did. I probably caught it in the speeches, or that's normal. Like, I'll tell the groom and I'll tell the bride, yo, you're mic'd up.
Yeah.
So if you want the raw footage, I'm not going to put it in the main edit, but if you want the raw footage and hear what you said,
yeah,
you're going to hear it one way or another, because all that stuff is all raw. It's not edited just yet. And those real moments that you captured without the cinematography attached, all the editing and all the bells and whistles, they want to see that too.
Mm-hmm.
The highlight film is kind of like one big, it's a recap it's just going to look like one big movie. And I like the part where you get to express your artistic flavor in that space. But those people also want to see the moments, the important ones, such as the ceremony. They want to hear the speeches. Maybe their father gave a speech, you know, and 10 years later he might not be here no more. You want to hear that speech, and you want to remember, you know, that's the importance of video now, and why it would cost so much, and two, why it costs so much to hire a real professional, people that are actually dedicated towards the craft of not just they're dedicated towards growing in it, the art of it, how to actually even get more creative and break boundaries and lines that aren't supposed to be broken within the art. You got to push the limits, push the envelope, and weddings with its storytelling foundation is a good place to keep growing and keep exploring. It's like you said, it's one of the most, it's difficult to film. It's a unique filming situation. Not too many things are scripted except for the poses. But the love and the emotion that you feel, those little tiny moments and those in-between details, those are real. Things that are raw and unfiltered. Maybe they're, the groomsman is talking to the groom while the bride is walking down. Maybe that's the brother. And he's saying something like, "I've never seen her so happy." Small things.
Right.
So hence, yeah, well, you gotta have a tripod on top of that one. Because, yeah.
You had the couple talk beforehand, because what I noticed, the performance that you got out of them was, I mean, it was acting quality stuff, and I was like, wow, this couple's really good on camera, you know. And all I could think about, wait, no, I'm gonna contribute this to the videographer, because I know that it's not easy at all, posing people, working with people, lighting, getting the hair right, getting this right. That's the other side, is making the couple look good. You know, that's not easy. A lot of times people are drinking way too much before the even ceremony. I had one guy, it was okay. So, you know, you still have to get them to look good, even despite, and the stress and the worry. So maybe you could talk a little bit. How do you talk to the couple? What kind of things? Also, this, you know, they wrote, the last one, they wrote kind of notes to each other. It was really beautiful notes, and that was like the core of the story. And then it seemed like you even took those speeches and thought of like, ooh, this would be a cool visual. You got him to shoot with a picture holding from the mirror, like, you know, all these things that, I don't know, were you thinking of things after you heard it, after you did? Like, I'm just kind of curious your process a little bit.
There's certain things that I like to do prior to the actual ceremony. My favorite part to capture the most creative visuals that you can is in the preparation sites where they're getting ready, because that actually shows a readiness for the next stage of the video, which is the ceremony and the culmination of events that happens. And you'll notice little details inside their rooms. So, you know, might be the shoes, the ring, there might be the wedding dress. Obviously, there's the 3-piece suit that this guy has to put on getting ready. And what getting ready on video looks like is just a man that's just getting ready for the biggest moment of one of the biggest moments of his life. And if you can kind of direct that, and kind of capture that and put it on the timeline, it's just a huge sequence of events of him getting ready. And you got to picture it in your head, how that's going to look prior to shooting. What does this shot say? What is this shot going to look like? Where do I place him? And a lot of the times, the bride and groom prep sites, if they got a window, it's the best. The natural lighting is really nice. But the little details that I noticed inside of the room, there's a lot of little different small little items or artifacts that might say something as just a good fill-in or a good B-roll shot or a good visual that's gonna push the story forward, their story forward. So the picture that you saw when Matt was holding up, I didn't hear the vows until afterwards. Like, I didn't hear.
Right, because you're busy recording, yeah.
But I saw the picture in his mirror, and it, you know, somebody who's like really in love is only they do that.
Right.
They put their picture of their first date or something on top of in their mirror. I was like, oh wow, that's a good detail, Brad. So like when I saw that, I was like, oh, I'm gonna catch a little sequence of him looking at it, putting it up, taking it down, and sure enough, it fit into what they said afterwards. I was like, oh, because one of the questions I like to ask is, are you gonna write personal vows? And the answer is yes or no, but they don't tell me what their personal vows is. So I just know that you got to shoot intimate to match the vibe of the personal vows.
Right.
And when especially because it was a Disney themed wedding. Like I knew it was gonna be. It's like, oh, it's gonna be creative. It's gonna be over the top.
Right.
It's nice, and it's held at a place, right next to Aulani Resort, which is the Disney themed resort. Right. That's where she got ready.
Oh, that she got ready at the resort.
And so immediately, everything that I knew about the couple up until then was a lot of it just your imagination starts to run wild as a director and as a shooter. Like what kind of themes and what kind of stories can I pull from those details alone and start to formulate the introduction, the plot, climax, certain things like that inside of a film.
Yep.
And then if you know that there's a reason why they had that kind of theme at their wedding, it was special to them. So capturing and just kind of putting in that theme that this is a themed wedding too, and having their love attached to what's sentimental to them is definitely a big factor to consider when creating any film. Like what kind of themes are backing it too. It's like, how did you meet? It's not so much like, how did you meet? Where are you from? What's your personality like? What is her personality like? How do those two mesh, and where did that actually stem from? Like, what was their journey dating up until he said, I want to marry you?
Right.
And trying to capture those small details too, all the way to the big kiss in the party.
And so I hope people can see the value that, I mean, a lot of people, when they haven't even if you think about, if you're listening to this and you're with someone, you're married to someone, you have a boyfriend or girlfriend, what is your story? And you may not have a clue. You may not be thinking about how you got together, what's unique about it, what your personalities, how they fit, all these things. You might not even be thinking about it. And yet you have Kekai, he's thinking about these things. He's bringing them out. And so, I mean, people, like they're going to know more about their relationship. They're going to know more about what makes their relationship special and unique, because you're an outside perspective looking at it and crafting a story. And that's, I mean, how cool is that? That's, you know what I mean? Like, that's super cool. Like, it's like bringing out, this relationship even more.
You just got to love the storytelling process. That's it. If there's one thing that I keep learning from people who are way better than me, it's all about the story. It's all it is. Like, you can have even the most, you can have crazy shots, and you can have pretty mundane looking shots. But if the story calls for a seemingly mundane looking shot, it will make that visual more important, because you'll be kind of mystified by what that says, and at the same time you'll want to know what happens next.
The dog paw. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah,
it was so subtle, and I'm like, wait a minute. The second time I watched it, I saw it. That's when you love it, when you watch something a couple times and you see new cool little details. So you got, maybe should I tell people? I should tell them. But you can go look at his video too. But there's always this shot with the couple. They put their rings together and they hold their hands, and it was like one hand. It was like the guy's hand was there, and the girl's put her hand over top, and then here comes the third hand. The dog paw comes right in, and it was because, and this was, I know how important this was to us, because we changed our policy at our venue because they wanted their dogs here. I'm like, well, we usually don't allow pets, but all right, okay. You seems like really they wanted it in their ceremony. They wanted it there. Okay, all right. We'll accommodate. So, it was just so, because it was cool. It was cool, man. It was just like, this little paw comes in. It was just so perfect.
You got him to change his pet policy.
That was
it's so important to them that he got somebody to change their policy on pets, of allowing them in. And now there's
my dog agrees.
Yeah. That one, they're such loving dog owners, and they wanted when I was talking to them, getting to know them over Zoom and having the Zoom consultation, they really expressed how much they wanted their dogs inside of their wedding. I've never shot a wedding where it had dogs in it, but I've seen some where it's like, wow, that's a good element, because to me that kind of pushes the story of who they are and how loving and caring they are towards animals. And she owns a pet store, or she owns a pet paraphernalia store.
Oh, really?
named Zabby Paws, because her last name used to be Zavala.
Mm.
And when they brought the dogs into the scene, they're really friendly, nice looking dogs. One's a wiener dog and one's a golden retriever, I think. And just visually, the golden retriever and with the wiener dog, they contrasted in size, and they also brought a real sense of security. Like, this is what a lot of wholesome families have, is dogs.
Yeah.
Or pets in general, just like something that they can care for and love and nurture. And that was one big element that they wanted inside of their wedding film, is their pets. Not just their pets, it's like their family now. I've had the same cat for 22 years.
Who, you?
Yep.
22?
22
They could
years.
live that long?
They're not
I didn't even know they
supposed
could live that long.
to. But this one has been
22.
I had this thing since I was
Yeah.
8.
Oh.
I'm 30 now. I've had the same cat since I was 8 years old.
Wow.
And
Yeah, that's a part of your life.
that's it's one of my best friends for sure.
Yeah.
You had a cat for 22 years old. It's been through everything.
Yeah.
Kid, childhood,
Right.
high school, puberty, first jobs, being a wedding videographer.
Wow.
If that cat could talk, it would tell me to shut up.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Well, I mean, I hope people get the point that I'm trying to make here of how important it is for a videographer, and that now I hope people can see why I thought it's so silly to think that your niece with an iPhone can do what Kekai can do, and his team. He's got a team of people. It's not, and as wonderful as your cousin is with doing Instagram shots, you want them to enjoy the wedding. You don't want them to put that on them. That's the point. And then they're just never going to get the audio. They're never going to get the captures. They're going to forget. They're 20 feet away from everything on the ceremony. So that argument of my friends and families, they got a bunch of phones and stuff, it's in by no means justification for not hire. And it's not as expensive as you think. I think that's another thing. You get different packages. You don't have to go all out. I mean, just get the ceremony. Just get, even a little bit beforehand or a little bit, there's so many options, right?
Right. We got a lot of different options. Those are some of them too. The most important events that happen throughout a wedding that you might capture, those little in between things, is probably in the ceremony or in the speeches. When people are actually getting deep and personal and talking about how these two met, how they fell in love, how do you know them? If it's a father figure or your actual father or somebody, if that's your real mom giving the speech, then those are things that you want on tape too. Those are things that you can revisit over and over. And so it's a lot more. It's like it is an investment. It's an investment in something that hopefully only happens once. And when it does, if that's the one that lasts, then you can look back on it and just say, well, wow, I didn't know that he or she said that. There's small little details about video that people don't notice until they see the video. I didn't even know that happened.
Yeah.
I was so consumed by the day. I'm glad we hired a videographer.
Yeah.
And there's definitely different levels to how a videographer becomes a professional. It's what's your track record? Does your work not only look professional? Does your social profile, does your website convey professionalism? How is your couples talking about you? How do you deliver every video? Is it on time? Is it easy and convenient for the couple? Do you under promise and over deliver? So many different things that can turn into a good reputation for a good videographer. That is pretty much that's all the business is. And I just like to make sure that whatever I capture, that it's special for them. However I edit, it's special to them. However many different edits I edit, it's special to them.
Yeah. Does your dad give you any tips and stuff?
Just be Kanaka. What that, he graduated from Kamehameha. I graduated from public school.
Yeah.
So I'm from Kona. I got a lot of Hawaiian in me. A lot of Hawaiian blood. Kind of advice that he gives me is just to stick to the values that you grew up with, which is respect, and you'll be respected. Show love, you'll get love back. Treat others how you want to be treated or how you should be treated, and you might not always get it, but more than likely you'll start to see that people ease up around you. There's so many different things about our culture in general. I feel, especially as a Hawaiian, being a videographer, you're capturing a lot more than just weddings. Now, you want to try and tell it from a Hawaiian's perspective, which seems to be pretty unique nowadays, because this is Hawaii, and we are Hawaiian, but we got to do it from a perspective that actually says like, yo, this is real. And camera is a good tool to tell stories, not just for weddings, but for all kinds of stories. So when I say that it's about the stories, like what kind of stories you want to tell, what kind of videographer you want to be, what kind of artist you want to be, what kind of storyteller do you want to be. So, weddings for me is a good storytelling platform to practice storytelling. There's definitely things that only happen once. Obviously, they only happen once, and you're pretty much just tossing yourself to the sharks all in one day and see if you can float, stay alive, and if you can, you'll be all right it'll be all right and comfortable telling stories and branching off and doing stories that are comfortable and important to you. A lot of the stories, my end goal for now, I want to be just a professional. I want to be at the top. I want to be in places and take it to places where not too many people are willing to take it to. But I feel like when I get to that platform, I want to start telling stories that are important to me. Things that not too many even, because I'm pretty quiet naturally. But when I get a camera, I can be pretty loud. I feel like the things that are important to me and the things that are important to Kanaka Maoli in general are just things that are so deep and undercover anyway. So we have so many few artists actually getting on top of platforms and making sure that their voice is heard. And so weddings is not the end for me either. I want it to be that good that early because I want it to be comfortable telling stories that make me uncomfortable in that situation. You're gonna go into, sometimes you gotta tread into territory that hasn't been treaded in yet. You might step on some toes, but if that's what it takes.
That's what artists do. Hey,
step on toes.
Step on toes all the time. We're the we're the
toe steppers.
Toe steppers. That's what we do. Politicians, they don't step on any toes.
No.
And when I was watching you shoot, like I've seen many videographers now shooting it, and yeah, there was like an intensity with you on that day. It was like I saw
I have that face.
and there's got to be an athlete in you somewhere, right? Because that's what I kind of felt like. This was the championship game, and you were just like, that's what it felt like, that intensity of like, you're in it and you're buzzing around and you're making sure this and you're on it. And it's like, it was like artist meets athlete. That's what it felt like.
So this is a lot. This is more than 90% mental, this game, which is that for any athlete, that a lot of things, once you get to I used to play basketball and soccer and baseball, and I used to paddle. And when I was from 15 to 27, which is the last time that I fought, I was an amateur boxer.
Oh yeah.
So I used to, when I was a kid, my favorite places was in the ring. It's quiet. There's nothing there. You control a lot of the real estate. You know every four corners, and if you know that this guy doesn't really have, if he doesn't have the right conditioning, it's all dependent on how much work you put into that. So I try and put the same work and dedication
The prep.
into the craft. Oh, the whole thing. I want all that. I want to overshoot a wedding so that way I can choose from the best of the best.
Right.
I want to not just over prepare, and sometimes I put a little bit too much pressure on myself because that's the way I was raised by a single father at the time until he remarried when I was 8. Was that work ethic and hard work will outdo talent that chooses not to work hard at it. Whatever I do, I wanted to make sure that was a part of me, and boxing was a part of my life. And sometimes I'll walk into the club and it feels like home, and I can flip a switch. And for me, still growing in the videography space, this is like I'm flipping a switch. It's almost a complete 180 from being a completely physical sport to being a completely mental, visual, and emotional sport, so to speak.
Yeah.
Certain levels of boxing, it's 90% mental, especially when you put in all the hard work, all the running, all the miles, all the rope work, all the bag work. But when it gets to this, if you've trained properly, you've looked up to guys that are clearly better than you, and you've asked them for advice, and they've given you the best advice, and they've helped you along the way, those are the people that really deserve the kind of credit that they don't get. And I'm always giving that. I'm always trying to acknowledge those who help me, because they're giving you nuggets of information that maybe the next guy's not using, and this almost a non-competitive sport, but there is a certain competition that goes on within yourself. It's like internal. It's always you versus you, me versus my last edit, me versus my my upcoming rates or my upcoming weddings, whether it's here or it's a destination one. Oahu to me is not really a destination wedding, since I live on the next, I live in Big Island, but I'm actually within a year of shooting weddings, I'm already traveling to Washington for a wedding. So I really put a lot of hard work in.
And that's hard.
It's
like,
hard.
It's a lot of gear. Like I'm shooting in September, and I'm trying to think of all the gear I got to bring. I'm like, because I've never traveled with all my gear, and it's just like, whoa, there's so much stuff, and you got to have bags for everything. You can't just like, So it's
Hard
not.
cases.
It's so hard traveling with
Hard cases
gear.
and air tags.
Air tags. You got the air tags.
Yeah, I got the air tags.
Uh-huh.
I know exactly where my luggage is. It's at my friend's house.
Yeah. So you got to track that stuff. And last thing I just want to appreciate with what you've done is that looking at your Instagram is, you're doing video. You're paid to do video for the bride and groom, but you shot a little video for the, maybe a little bit of downtime. Something's going on. They don't need you for a second. You pick up instead of you hanging out, you're shooting a little video for the photographer. And I think you were shooting videos for some other vendors. So you weren't just, you were creating content for these other vendors for free. I mean, that's what little gifts is that you're.
There's if you want to get hired, and like I said, or how I feel is they got a job to do too. They need to get their name out there too. I feel like every artist and every vendor deserves at least a chance to get their name out there, and so I'll do those clips for free, because not only do I get to network with them and maybe they'll refer me to the next bride or the next vendor, but it's you're helping that person out too. Video is powerful. Video is a good medium for somebody who doesn't excel in video, and a lot of things you see on social media now, if you got a small 30-second to 1 minute clip of your services, then it'll be a little bit more attractive to say like a picture or something, or just a send message button or something like that. You're actually showcasing what you do, some behind the scenes and some B-roll of what that person might look like and how that person whoever they're servicing feels about it, and, you know, giving them that shout out from, in this case, the bride or the groom, how they felt about each vendor, and if they were, you know, if they were stoked on it, then that's the kind of review that they got on top of the video. Oh,
Yeah.
thank you for, you know, feeding out these birria tacos
Yeah.
straight out of us. And those tacos are the bomb.
Mm.
You know, everybody that I saw that at that day at the wedding were raving about them, and I only ate 2 because I normally drink 2 cups of coffee. I don't have an appetite in the morning. But when I started to eat, I was like, yo, I immediately snapped out of it. Snapped out of videography. I'm like, yo, these tacos are crazy good.
That's true. I do remember. People offer me food all the time, and a lot of times I can't. And then it's like, my kids were just, this food's amazing. We have Mexican, so it's like, yeah, guacamole, and you made, all from fresh. That was some good food.
That was, and it was all from scratch.
All from scratch.
All
That's what
from
you could
scratch.
taste, and we made it all just there, and it was just easy, and yeah. So that's, I appreciate that too. How you're supporting the wedding community as well.
Yeah.
And it's
small. It's a small community.
Right.
A lot of, and that too. So when it comes down to hiring vendors, depending on, you know, what you want, what's your style, what's your budget, what's your price range, there's a lot of different avenues to go for if you're within this price range or within this price range. So like hiring that person that's right for you might be connected to the same circle of vendors that for a videographer or a florist that you like. Oh, do you know any videographers? Yeah, I know this guy, he's good. So it's such a small community though, especially in Hawaii, where if you hire hopefully not the wrong vendor, but you know, you're getting hired for a reason. You got to do your job. You got to step up and do your job. This place as a venue was so impressive to me because it's so well manicured. Kapila Gardens is like a playground for adults. It's like way better than Mr. Miyagi's backyard. That's what I thought. So exactly what I thought, and I saw the mountains as the backdrop. I said, yo, this is going to be the best wedding video that I shoot because of the environment, the ambiance that it had. All the greenery, small little private. Are you kidding me? We don't have to stress out too much. There's only like 40 people here. It's nice, but it also is very high end looking. So to me, that's the best. There's, you know, it's beautiful venue, and I love that I got to shoot here.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thanks. And it's been nice to just connect with other vendors. That's been my favorite part is because that's what we do. We're just you turn into a team pretty quick. You know, videographer needs this. You give your helping with this, and it's all of a sudden we're just thrown into this event. It's like a circus. It's time's ticking. The ceremony starts in an hour. Everyone's got to rally together. What's this? Where's this? I need this. And then it always turns out amazing. It always turns out great because even though there's mistakes, because everyone cares so much. You know, you get that feeling of like everyone cares, and everyone wants this to be great. And you don't get that in a lot of businesses. You don't get that in a lot of opportunities where everyone's just like, how can we just make this better and better and better? I just, you know, the photographers like that. You were like that. The food vendors were like that. Everyone's just trying to make it better. The wedding planner was great. And so, yeah, it's so nice when, and this is why we kind of brought up at the beginning, like how you can save money. If you want to save money, and it's about the what. It's about making sure that you focus on the right things. You don't have to go with the high end this or that. You can find the right vendor for you. There's so many great vendors out there. There was this couple, they had popcorn and shave ice. It was just such a cool vibe. It was just small family. The daughters were helping with the shave ice, you know. I'm sure they didn't cost that much, but man, it was just so fun. It was like, everyone was going. All the guests were going to shave ice. Everyone's going to get the popcorn. You know, it's so easy. It was like a carnival. You know, so I know they didn't spend that much money on their wedding, but they had so many fun little cool little things, and they had a videographer, and they got to capture all this, and so you know that's that's where I was kind of going with at the beginning, is focus on the what is important to you, and you can save money in so many areas and be creative and find some vendors that they're not that expensive. They just they offer some simple little service, but that makes it so unique and special.
It is what you make it.
Yeah.
If it's special to you, you have it. You don't have to be expensive to have a special wedding. This one, I think they had high dots, Dippin' Dots.
Yeah, yeah.
They had Dippin' Dots for dessert. That was cool.
Yeah.
People love Dippin' Dots. I love Dippin' Dots.
Yeah.
They had a boba truck. They had bouncy house.
They had a bouncy castle.
They had a bouncy castle. That was, to me, that's awesome. That's important to them. And you don't need to spend that much money on a bunch of stuff that you don't need. Video is gonna capture that all too.
It's gonna capture it all.
It's gonna capture it all. Big budget, small budget. I love telling the stories. I love capturing the stories. I love the storytelling process. I want to immerse myself in that to make sure that whatever I capture, regardless of budget, it's just gonna be insane.
Yeah.
I love that part. I'm in love with the storytelling part, the sounds. I'm still learning the colors, which is why I sometimes shoot straight out of cam. But just the whole purpose behind that video is all those emotions, 8, 10, 12 hours, compact into a 5-10 minute video. It's got to be good. So hire somebody good.
Hire someone that cares.
Hire somebody
that
really cares about
it. Yeah,
their
cares
craft.
about you, their craft. Yeah.
And someone who's gonna be a real professional, a true professional.
Yeah. I think that's a great way to wrap it up. And I hope people can understand what they should focus on for planning your wedding. Because that's what we're hoping to do. There's so many things that to think about, and like you said, a lot of stress can happen. But if you get that, what's important to you, everything else, it's all going to work out. It's all going to work out. So
100%.
So thanks so much for taking the time. This was fun, man.
No, thank you for having me on top of your podcast.
This was great. And I'm a fan of your work. Definitely gonna keep following you. Looking forward to your next one. You're shooting tomorrow, right?
Next one I'm shooting tomorrow, Kualoa Ranch.
Yeah, that should be beautiful.
Definitely. I've never shot there before. Looking forward to it, and I just it's just huge. It's a big venue, so I'm looking forward to bigger and better.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing your take on it, because I've seen a lot of videos with Kualoa Ranch, because it's a huge wedding spot. Right. So it's always cool. I'm gonna get to see your flavor, your flavor of Kualoa Ranch.
I'll see what I can do.
Cool, man. Awesome.
Thanks, Jason.
Thanks a lot. Mahalo.